Gentlemen, the topic we have for this session is how to be an angel investor. I thought before defining or rather him going through the process of how to be an angel investor, the first thing is to understand what is angel investing. According to a definition that I have heard from Chandu himself earlier, it is the first outside source of equity capital that comes into financing an idea, other than from family, friends, and Chandu. There were 3 F's. Is the other one fools? Okay. So it's the first capital that comes in to finance an idea that somebody has, and later on comes venture capitals, private equity, a strategic buyer, etc. To take us through this topic, we have Chandu Nair. He's a MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. He was a journalist with Business World, worked with Asian Paints. He turned an entrepreneur, and from 1989 to 2011, he has started 10 companies. Some of them have been angel funded, later on venture capital funded. Two of the companies grew to a size of up to 1,000 employees, and then he exited 2 of them to a strategic investor. He's an active charter member of TiECon and a member of the Chennai Angel Network, and also occasionally teaches at business schools. A key focus for him now is entrepreneurship and helping strengthen the entrepreneurial ecosystem. He advises entrepreneurs and enterprises in creating and scaling their business, and in some cases plays an active role. He is on the advisory board of the Chennai, India headquartered Fulcrum Venture Fund, and is on the board of Mentera Social Impact Fund, and also assists with Chesapeake, a New York-based investment bank. Chandu, please come on stage and guide us through the presentation.
So good afternoon. How many of you have money to lose? Only one gentleman.
Only 10
money,
rupees today.
10 rupees.
Yeah.
The other money is still in the bank. Today we are happy that if we can get our own money which we have put into the bank. That's a very funny situation. So how many of you really want to be angel investors here? Want to really put money into other people's enterprises? 2 people, 3, 4, 4 investors. So the rest of you want to get money from these angel investors, I am believing. Correct? How many of you want to get money from angel investors? Again, only 2 or 3 truthful hands. Oh, 4, 5. So there are people who want to see how to get an angel investor. So we have a good mix. So what I am going to do here is take you through a little bit of a journey on what an entrepreneur goes through. Where does angel funding come in? How big is it? There are some events in life, there are some things in life where you find that the talk is much more than the walk, where there is more buzz than there is money. Angel investing is one of those. So let me start off with that. There's a lot more hype given to it than actual action. So let me take you through some numbers, take you through some situations as we have. So this topic is this, but I'll also touch upon entrepreneurship and funding, because at the end of the day, this is an important step in building, according to TiE Kerala's theme this year, of building an entrepreneurial ecosystem. So like Mr. John Chacko said, I have had 2 exits. Very happy that at least out of the several companies one started, one has been able to get at least 2 exits. Like I mentioned, I think in TiECon 2012, most entrepreneurs are a bit like Mr. Arjuna's son, Mr. Abhimanyu. They know how to get in, they know how to stay there, they don't know how to get out. So with hopefully an angel by your side, you hopefully can understand how to get out of a business. And I'm also I'm also associated with two funds, one a social impact fund called Mentera, and the other is a healthcare wellness fund called Fulcrum. And I also, because I'm in part of an investment bank, I help people make money by selling their companies or getting people to invest in their companies. So this is what my perspective is, and why I think I have some competency in talking about this subject. I think I have close to now some 10 investments in different companies, 2 of which already have gone down. So I'm not likely to see the money I got in those 2 companies. 4 or 5 of them have got follow-on funding, which is a good sign. Balance 2 or 3 are what I call Trishanku land, which is we don't know where they are. They are neither here nor there. So we'll have to wait and see how it goes. And one good thing is, having failed in more companies than succeeded, it gives you a good appreciation. Like Mr. Velumani said, only the poor know how it is, really the challenges. So the same way, if you lose, you know what it is. But he sees us promise for that business. Please come. So he sees a promise for that business. And in the classic American Western context, a guy comes in even post an idea just around an idea time itself. In India till recently, many people didn't come in at an idea level. They saw it after the pilot level. Slowly people are even willing to come here. But a good angel comes in typically at a very high risk level. Please understand there's a reason this is called the valley of death. Between the beginning and about 18 to 24 months, almost like Mr. Lakshmi Narayan mentioned, 70 to 90% of businesses will fail. If they are not failing and they are not succeeding, they are in what we call the land of the living dead. Because of ego or whatever reasons, people continue to be in the business. But this is the critical phase, and a good angel ideally helps the entrepreneur in scaling it up. I will not go much further here and all because that is far beyond. You will have a separate session much later. Now if you look at it, again from an angel perspective, what I would recommend if you want to get angel ready is you go a little bit through the cycle. And for this I would say people like TiE, people like your local incubators, local colleges should play a bigger role. Even people like KSIDC and all can play a role. Which is, many times people just fall off the bus, get an idea, and they think this is the best idea. Many a times, please come in. So many times they actually don't spend enough time validating the idea, they don't spend enough time researching what's happening, they don't spend enough time with the customers, or they don't even spend enough time seeing if there's other competitors. So if there is a good method by which before they jump in to ask for funding, they do all these other things, check with the outside world, validate it. Secondly, even talk to family, friends. Thirdly, go to incubators, accelerators. Today, government is giving a lot of money. Private companies are also willing to invest quite a bit of money. And there are a lot of mentors also within TiE and other frameworks who are willing to spend time with you. So please use all of that before you come to the angel investor. I must also mention today, there is a lot of free money. When I say free money, government has grants. Yesterday, those who attended the session which is on the Department of Biotech, etc., the DBT of Kavita Iyer Rodrigues, she said that the DBT, the Department of Biotechnology, the DST, the Department of Science and Technology, has a lot of schemes by which entrepreneurs can get grants, subsidies, and many other kinds of what I would call free money. Try and see how to get use of it, and try and see whether you can get access to those funds. There's a lot of good money out there which helps you. So when you come to the angel investor, this is the key thing. For building an entrepreneurial ecosystem, you need what I would call smart money. When I say smart money, it is not just money. Today money is more easily available. But when I say smart money, it is money which helps you grow. It is money which helps you connect to customers. It is money which helps you connect to co-founders, to technology, to partners overseas in India. If you take my case, in at least 3 of the companies that I've invested in, I helped them get new investors. I've helped them connect to potential customers. I've helped them connect to possible partners. So a good investor at this stage brings in more than just money. He brings in a lot of leverage. The name, that person's credibility is also at stake when he comes into your company. So please understand, a good investor is not just putting in money and then hoping to get a return. So he plays a variety of roles, okay? And then you have the other people who typically come in. Many times you'll find a good angel investor also acts as a bridge. In my case, you've seen I'm also on the board of 2 other funds. So in many cases, because of that, I get access to people who are VCs, who are private equity people, who are willing to listen to somebody like me. So that's the kind of place, and that's the kind of investor. If you're looking to be an angel investor or you're looking to get an angel investor, that's the kind of person ideally you should be. So you have to develop, if you want to be an angel investor, you have to develop your own network. So like Mr. Chaco said earlier, who is an angel investor? He is the first external or outside investor apart from friends and family, number one. They also tend to be people who can afford to lose some money. In the sense, they are usually high net worth individuals with a certain amount of net worth, and therefore they can afford to spend that bit of money in investing in entrepreneurship. They usually, a good angel investor tends to be a successful entrepreneur himself. Today, there are a lot of corporate executives who have made lots of money. For example, Rajan Anandan is today a super angel. He is the head of Google India. He has invested in some 30-35 companies. So if you're looking at building a digital business and you think you have a fantastic idea, Rajan Anandan is a good person to tackle because he is the head of Google India. You cannot get a better customer or prospect for testing a lot of things. Then he also does a lot of other work, like I mentioned. There is also today an increasing amount of angel networks, and I'll talk about some of them later. Why they do this angel network, and today why are we so happy to introduce and launch the Kerala Angel Network? Because there is also sometimes a safety in groups, number one. 2, there is also the advantage and strength that a group brings in many areas, which you will discover hopefully as Kerala Angel Network starts and grows. So there is a power of the network. Now this is where I mentioned to you that in many cases in some cases there's more talk than action. And we have heard a lot of talk, especially in the last 2-3 years, about angel investing. But if you actually see the number, and you take the amount of money invested in angel investing from 2005 to 2016 so far, roughly so far, the total amount invested by angels, documented that we have, my good friend runs venture intelligence, so is under 1,000 crores. 1,000 crores, that's it. Velumani, market capitalization of TiECon alone is 3,600 crores. One small company. MRF share is 52,000, 53,000 crores, the highest price share, MRF, single share. So the total money invested is really low. But what's the interesting thing? That the last 4-5 years has seen a steady increase. So it's only in the last 3 to 4 years that things are slowly starting to grow. So we are seeing the beginning of a new momentum. In the earlier years, the last 10, almost 6-7 years before that, we only had 10-20 crores coming in every year. Very, very, very pathetic sum of money. For many of the large industrialists, the big businessmen, actually this is not even pocket change. But that's the amount of money. So please be very, very, careful before you think that angel investing runs into thousands and thousands of billions or thousands of crores. It has not. It is still a small thing. There are probably only 700 active angel investors. There are many people who call themselves angel investor, but when I say an active angel investor, it's somebody who at least does 2 to 3 deals a year and plays an active role, not somebody who invests one-off and then keeps quiet. So if you look at it, like I mentioned earlier, it is only comprising 7%, 0.3. And the total number of deals, like I mentioned, is just only around 222 or 300 deals in all, which is nothing at all. So if you look at it, percentage is only about 7% of early stage investing. US is 75%, that's a very different market. And it might increase in the next 10 years to about 3,500 crores. So, like I mentioned, there are only some 700, 800. One estimate puts it a little higher. 35 angel groups. There are lots of incubators, but again 70-80% of them are not very active. So, it's a pretty sad state still. And Kerala has just got, after so many years, it's getting its first angel network today. So we are still at a very, very nascent stage. Okay, now which are the places where people are putting in money? No surprises, I think it will be familiar territory for most of you. One is the consumer internet and mobile. Second, IT enabled services. Third has been food, e-commerce, logistics, and then come the other things. Why does it happen like this is the question. Now you will find that money goes where money comes. The simple thing. Why I am saying this is, an angel also puts his money where other people are likely to put in money later. So you may have the best idea, for example, in say like Mr. No problem. You may have the best restaurant idea, but an angel will feel very, very reluctant to put a money into a restaurant idea because he is not sure whether there will be a follow-on investor. So many times you will find that money is put where there is likely to be money following on later. So that's big learning for you from this slide, okay? Now, every year, we only have about max 50 deals. We have 35 angel networks, 700, 800 registered angels, but totally only about 50 to 70 deals, or roughly about 3 to 5 or 4 or 5 or 6 deals a month. For a country of 1.2 billion, with so many thousands and millions of entrepreneurs, that is not a drop in the ocean. That is the evaporation of that drop. That is the number. So let us not kid ourselves. We are at a very, 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 very early stage of investing. The second is the average, the median deal size, not the mean, the median is steadily going up, but it's still around 1.5 to 2 crores. Steadily going up, but it is still very low. And the typical valuation is around 10 crores. It was only about 6 crores, 5 crores couple of years ago. But now the median value is about 10 crores. This is a bit dated slide, so I will just tell, this is again to just show you that certain sectors tend to get the most. So you will find IT enabled services, things like analytics, online services, e-commerce, all those kind of things take the bulk of the money. Slowly some new areas are coming. You will see now shifts to things like mobile, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, sometimes towards life sciences also happening. So you'll see that change happening in the next 2 to 3 years. But this is the problem for angel investors. And this is where, if you are an angel investor, you have to look at this slide very, very carefully. Which is that out of 242 deals which were invested in this period, roughly about 70 odd deals in a year or so, 70 plus, only 21% of them get follow-on funding. 21%, that is only 1 in 5 companies which have been invested by angels get follow-on funding, which is a very poor percentage. Further, only 31% get Series B and only 25% go on to get larger rounds, which means 4 out of 242, less than 2% of the original go up to Series C. So for an angel, what does that mean? It means that there is less likely chance of his making money on a deal, because out of the total number of 242 deals, it's only when the deal goes to a Series B that he actually makes money. So it is less than 7% chance, 7 or 8% chance that he'll actually make money. Any questions you can ask me? Yes, sir.
Where is the dividing line between an angel funding versus a venture capital?
Is the size and scale of the investment, typically.
But can an angel investor be also called a venture capitalist?
In fact, in our case, in Chennai Angels, we have 2-3 cases where there are venture funds who co-invest with us at an early stage. That is because why they do that is they feel that many times once they build a relationship with an entrepreneur at a very early stage, the entrepreneur won't look at somebody else. And they don't want to miss a good entrepreneur. So there are a lot of stories of how, for example, Excite Ventures did not invest in Google. So there are a lot of stories like this. XYZ did not invest in Ola. So they don't want to. There is something called FOMO, FOMO, which is the fear of missing out. It was very evident between 2012 to 2015 early part, where a lot of angels kept in and venture funds invested in too many businesses at absurd valuations because of FOMO. And today many of them are having a different kind of fear, which is whether I'll get my money back at all. There are a lot of stories like this. So for an angel, if you are an angel investor, or if you are an entrepreneur who is trying to convince an angel, how do you convince the angel that you will take it to Series B? And for an angel, how do I make sure that that company is getting to Series B? Because only in Series B does he have a chance of exit or at a strategic buyout. This percentage is pretty low, because at this percentage, he is in bad shape. This is just some examples. And let me explain a little more from Alok Mittal slide of Kanan Ventures, that out of companies which have seed funding, only 27% get angel funding. And only 20%, like we saw in the previous slide, get Series A. So this is where people repeat the cycle. That 19% is where people add on the money, top up money, etc. So again, quite a few companies shut down. Now what that means is that if only 1 in 5 companies is going to get to the next stage, you are losing money as an angel. You are starting to make money only if it touches a figure closer to 30%. And the 30% in Series A becomes at least another 30-35% in Series B. So if you are wanting to be an angel investor, your job is to see, can my companies get to that stage that they get further follow-on funding? And that is part of your role. But at this stage today, it is a bad situation. You are more likely to lose money than make money. So go in with that inclination and that perspective. Now the other headache that we have in India is that we don't have enough icons. You can see the impact one Velumani has. Last year he spoke in Coimbatore. Mr. Lakshmi Narayan said 8 people became entrepreneurs from one speech. So the more people you have as examples and people who are successful and who create wealth, the more there is likely to be a halo effect, because the entrepreneur builds a company, becomes wealthy, becomes investor, inspires people. If you take Silicon Valley, it's very interesting. Many of you may not know these names, but let's understand that today's Google or Facebook owes actually, if you look at the family tree of entrepreneurship, everything started with a company called Fairchild Semiconductor. One company called Fairchild helped create Mr. Andy Grove, etc., who made Intel. That then created Mr. Steve Jobs, etc., who helped, he was working there or something, and he moved to Apple, then Oracle, Larry Ellison, which then had Sun, then Silicon Graphics. So if you look at it, one company, if you can trace back all many other companies which owe their origin to one company. MIT, Stanford, if you just take the GDP of the entrepreneurs created by these two fellows, institutes and universities, it is more than the GDP of many countries. Just these two universities, if you take the GDP of the wealth created by the entrepreneurs who came out from these two universities, it's more than the GDP of many countries. Now if you look at India, it is very, very sad, comparatively. Okay, so today the good part is cycles are getting shorter, the bad part is your ability to fail has become lower. So if you take the South Indian scene, and I take Chennai, which is where I am right now, you find a lot of examples in automotive. Fellows from Ashok Leyland, fellows from other kinds of companies have started, TVS and all have started automotive. This thing. Healthcare, from one Apollo, so many other fellows have started hospitals, so many doctors, corporate hospitals. Today I find from one Zoho, there are at least 5-6 companies who have created SaaS B2B, software as a service B2B companies. There are quite a few. In Bangalore, yesterday Kavita Iyer Rodriguez said from Biocon, there are more than 15-20 people who have left and started biotech and associated companies. From Infosys, there are 30, 40, 50 companies which have come, people who have worked in Infosys entrepreneurs. Some of them probably have come to Kerala. Flipkart already has created 25 entrepreneurs. Wipro, many. Texas Instruments, many. My question to this audience who is predominantly here from Kerala is, which company in Kerala has helped create many entrepreneurs? Keltron has created one or two. But then Keltron itself died. That's okay, it doesn't matter. It's a good beginning, but that's only one company. Now what we need are many more companies. We have very few such inspirations. We have very few such inspirations like this. So the only place where we find that maximum number of things have happened is in politics. Like if you take Tamil Nadu, one Dravida Kazhagam got one Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, then there is one Anna Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, today there is an MTMK, one TMTK and all kinds of MKs. Here also you have so many types of congresses with bracket, without bracket and all kinds of things. The only place where we have managed to create entrepreneurship visibly is in politics. Look at it. So what is missing? When you're looking at the ecosystem and we're looking at trying to get angels interested, there's a lot of things we are still missing out here. It's the same in many other cities and many other states, so don't feel bad. Do we really have world-class academic institutions which are like a Stanford, MIT, IIT Madras, just for your information, has created 100 plus companies through its incubation network. IIT Bombay has also created a very large number. So have we got universities which have created such enterprises? If not, what is it we should do here? It's a good question, because now the fact for an angel investor is all we have to do is tell IIT Madras, tell VIT, tell other fellows, look, if you have some good student or a good incubated company, we don't mind looking at that company. That's a good place to get a good funnel, a good entrepreneur, because that fellow is working at that place for quite some time. Second, do we have a political leader who is interested in this space? In a very short span of time, Telangana, a new state, is #1 in ease of doing business. All because KCR and his son have managed to put in a lot of personal time and energy. So much so, Telangana is the first state to have a startup center even in Silicon Valley. When Apple, Tim Cook came, apart from Bombay, the only other state he went to was Telangana. Okay, so if we have somebody who's interested personally, and I'm not talking about single window and all that, we are talking about making people interested in coming at a very, very critical level. Can you get a Sundar Pichai? Can you get a Tim Cook? Can you get somebody else coming here because the political leader is interested? The third, you need a critical mass of investors. Till 3 years, 4 years ago, Chennai Angels was only 25 or 30 members. Last 3 years, we now touched 90 plus members. The reason why I'm saying this number is important is then you can do 7, 8, 9 deals. But to do 7, 8, 9 deals, you will actually meet about 70, 80 entrepreneurs or 100 entrepreneurs who have been tested. But to get those 70, 100 entrepreneurs for presentation, you will meet 4 to 5 times that number. And the ripple effect is much higher because you are meeting so many of them. And you have 90 members, you can meet many more of them. So like for example, 2 of us are already here. One of my other colleagues, Mr. Narayanan, is downstairs for the pitch fest. So you get a chance to meet more entrepreneurs in more places. So that is very important. You also need international companies. My friend works in Texas Instruments. That company gives in Bangalore. They give him patents in his name. But because there's Texas Instruments, there are downstream companies which get activated. Today, because of a Google, so many companies are getting activated even in India. So which company in Kerala helps activate downstream entrepreneurs? Is a good question to ask, because that is a very important role. So apart from institute or university, there's government also, but there is also industry which has to play a role. And one good place actually is for charter members with companies. For example, if you take a Malayalam Manorama, can they look at things in digital journalism? Can they look at things in different kinds of publishing formats? There could be some opportunities for people to experiment there. And the other, everybody likes to talk about Narayana Murthy here. Why? They say Narayana Murthy's driver also became millionaire, dollar millionaire. And he still drives the car because Narayana Murthy gave him shares in the company. Infosys has created more dollar millionaires than any other company in India from its employees. which company in Kerala, whether you take your big software companies, you take manufacturing companies, which company in Kerala did similar things? The more you do it, the more you will find larger number of people interested in investing. Then, if you take, like I said about Zoho, I mentioned about Flipkart, other kinds of things. And finally, regulations, which we can talk about every year. So what keeps angels interested? One, and most important, is a very strong, passionate entrepreneur who has an idea that he is willing to die for. You will see people like Baiju, Ravindran, or you will see, what's his name, Mustafa. I always like this Mustafa example, because who would have thought that from idli batter, one can create a nearly 100 crore or 100 plus crore company. Everybody would have told him, why are you making something which everybody is making in their house? And everybody would have dissuaded him, many people. But he made branded package batter, made it a scalable business, made it big, 100 plus crores and growing, moving on to other products. So that kind of an entrepreneur is somebody you really feel very good about. And the other thing that an angel wants to do is learn from these new entrepreneurs. There are so many things I keep learning. 3 years ago, I knew nothing about SaaS B2B. Today, the amount of learning I've had from these entrepreneurs is really fantastic. I can at least speak a little bit more knowledgeably about these areas than I could 3 years ago because of actually working with these fellows. The other big thing, if you want to be an angel investor, is you meet fantastic entrepreneurs as peers. You are co-investing with them, you are discussing stuff with them, you are exposed to new ideas. That's a fantastic advantage. And because you are invested together, you sweat together, you lose together, you bond much better, you build a lot of relationships. And finally, one good way is also that you, somewhere, you feel that you are also contributing to this society. Angels who want to part with their money, you can really play a big role. There are a lot of financial things, but there are also a lot of non-financial pluses. But the last line is what you should remember. You will lose, you will feel upset, you will feel angry, you will feel betrayed. Right now, actually, in fact, I am going through a case in Bangalore where we have actually done a forensic audit of the entrepreneur's company because we detected some unusual occurrences. We are close to calling it fraud. We are close to calling it fraud. We don't know whether we should file a criminal case against the entrepreneur. You might be faced with such situations. So how you deal with all of this is actually very, very interesting, very important for you to deal with. It will happen, okay? And our legal system is not exactly geared to deal with all of these in a very quick and successful manner. Okay, now this is a slide I think which is going to be interesting for those who are angel investors and those who want to get invested in. Okay? I believe, finally, when you look at entrepreneurs, there are 4 buckets you can put the entrepreneur. There are a lot of people who become entrepreneur not because they want to be entrepreneur, because they have no other choice. Like the local vegetable vendor, the local small ironing fellow, or the local restaurant fellow. I don't think they all woke up and said, that my ambition when I become 25 is to be a vegetable vendor. So there is therefore some people who get into business and entrepreneurship voluntarily, and those who get into it because of no other choice. So that is what I put here. Those who got voluntarily, those who have no other choice. Second, there are those people who like to grow, and there are those who don't want to grow. So let us look at it from that perspective. So the first perspective is the person who gets into business because there's no choice. Why? Because it's out of necessity. What you would say, papi pet ka sawal hai. If I don't do something, I will die hungry. So I should do it. So this is the necessity-based entrepreneur. The growth orientation is low. Second, there is a person who gets into it voluntarily, but who likes to have good lifestyle. I have met Hyundai, Maruti car dealers. Because they grew with the company, they have touched 200, 300 crores. But their thing is put a general manager in charge, typically ex-army man or something, lead a very cushy life making 2-3 crores a year. They don't want to grow the business, make a chain of things. They are very happy. I want to go to my Rotary club, go to the Trivandrum club or any other club and enjoy myself. So that's a lifestyle business guy. Okay. The third fellow is like typically a person who gets into it involuntarily. Typically these are second generation, third generation family business people. The fellow might want to be actor, he might want to be drummer, he may want to go be professor, but the family will say, come and sit in the business. Okay. And he has low level of control because you have to worry that the fellow, you can't really, even if he says, boss, give me funding, his father or his uncle will say, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. So, big problem that you have. And the fourth is what I call the maximizer, who gets into it voluntarily and who really wants to grow. So, let's look at it from a funding perspective. So, for the first person, you will find that they typically go to local money lender. At best, they get self-help group funding, microfinance, etc. They are the people who will get 100 rupees. If they borrow 100 rupees, they get 90 rupees and have to return 100 rupees in the evening. This is that category. Okay. The second category is lifestyle. If you do this, better for you to take debt at a very selective level. Carefully take debt if you want to grow, working capital, overdraft, those kind of things. Be happy taking debt. The third fellow, as a funder, you will operate very selectively. For example, you take TVS Logistics. It is part of the TVS group, but Mr. Dinesh created a separate entity, got in private equity, venture capital money, etc., and has made the company an Indian multinational for logistics. So you have to do it selectively. If I get a Dinesh type of entrepreneur who is able to create a completely different entity without interference from the TVS group, I will invest in him. Otherwise, I will be very careful. Therefore, for the angel investor or the VC, this fellow is the guy. The person who comes in voluntarily and wants to grow. So if you are an angel investor, look for these fellows. Look for this fellow who wants to grow, who wants to maximize both his wealth, his value, and the value for people who work and who work with him and who invest with him. Now, how to invest? There are many ways to do it today, luckily for you. One is to be an individual angel investor, little more difficult today. Two is to networks and other kinds of seed funds that you can do it. Second, you can do it through Mentera type of funds on which I am the board. You can invest in those funds which will then invest on your behalf. Social impact kind of funds. Third is there are also VCPE funds who invest at an early stage like IDG, etc. And fourth, there are today crowdfunding platforms like Let's Venture, Equity Crest, Ampli, IFI, etc. So there are different ways to do it. Today, hopefully, we will get an addition, which is the Kerala Angel Network. But today, the biggest one is Indian Angel Network with 450 plus members. Mumbai Angels is another old angel network. Chennai Angels is about 11-12 years old. Hyderabad Angels, Calcutta Angels. There is also lead angels out of Bombay, RAIN, which is Rajasthan Angels, and this is based out of Chandigarh. And our ventures is also based out of Bombay. So you'll find some places have lot more networks, like even Bangalore has Harvard Angel Network. So there are lots of such networks, about 35 or so networks today. So you can become a part of these networks, and so many things are happening, especially in the last 3 years. So if you are an entrepreneur today, you'll find there are more opportunities. If you are an investor also, you can be part. There are people who are part of 2-3 funds. Now, finally, the big question, how much should I invest? So if you have money to lose, money to invest, especially, it should vary between 3% to 10% maximum. I would prefer you look at 3 to 7% ideally of your total personal assets. Don't go beyond that, especially initially. How much is the deal, that your money per deal? Between 2 to 10 lakhs, typically. That's what they put. You follow, like, you're going to Las Vegas. Sometimes you just like some deal. So that's called mad money. It's like betting on roulette or blackjack. You put in money at that red color in that number. You feel okay, doesn't matter. Follow sometimes, don't follow your head, follow your heart. That's what I mean here. And then you decide. For example, one of the big challenges we had in Chennai Angels was, should we invest only in Chennai and Tamil Nadu companies? Or should we invest only in, can we invest anywhere if there is a good entrepreneur, of fellow from, of Chennai origin or Tamil Nadu origin? Should we do like that? We had such doubts. Kerala Angel Network also may have similar questions. Should we invest only in companies out of Kerala or by Malayali entrepreneurs or what? Like there is a Jain network. They invest in companies founded by Marwadi Jains. There is a Nagaratar network which invests in companies founded by Chettiars. So you could have that orientation also if you want. Then you can also decide therefore which industries you want to focus on. For example, Rajan Anandan and about 8-10 investors only focus on digital businesses. They don't invest in other things. They only focus because they can add a lot of value. Also, please understand what your motivation is. How much loss are you willing to take? All this is fine, but when you find the first investment where the company closes down and you know that money is not going to come back, understand how you will react and how you will feel. Because I tell you, people remember losses more than they remember gains. Even today, people can remember the last ball 6 of Javed Miandad of Chetan Sharma. Then they can remember so many victories of India. Okay, anybody remembers Chetan Sharma and Javed Miandad will only remember that fellow's last ball 6. We remember that much more than we remember all our victories. So losses hurt you very more than this thing. It also remember that it takes 5 to 7 years, especially when you're building a portfolio of investments, 5 to 7 years before you can actually see the first return of money unless you're very lucky. So please understand it's patient capital. It's very illiquid. You can't trade it, you can't sell it. Very difficult to get your money. And finally, couple of things. It's very tough to really get money out of this. And the money comes not when you sign a term sheet, not when you sign a share purchase agreement, only when the money comes and hits the bank. Till then, it is only talk. And today, certain situations, exits are very tough to come by. Like last year only, I think 18% of investments people could exit. But the good part, if you do it well, studies have shown that you can make 27% IRR in the US context, which for the US is very high. Very high. This is a study by the Angel Capital Association that you can make roughly 27% IRR for the US when typically interest rates are less than 3-4%. So you are getting 27%, much higher, and especially compared to equity investments, not bad. But the bad thing is the next line. More than half you lose, and only 7 to 8% provides all the returns. So you have to build a portfolio if you are an angel investor. That means you have to have a strategy, and you will find that only some investments provide most of the ROI. So if you look at it, you won't make too much money. And one lesson I'll give for angel investors, which is only one, which is this. Many places when you go today, if you say you're an angel investor, there will be many people coming around you. You will feel like as if you are the big guy. You are not. Don't ever make it like an ego trip. If you make it an ego trip, you are doomed. Finally, it is about being logical, cool, and helping an entrepreneur who deserves to be helped. So if you make it an ego trip, you are likely to be going down the path of destruction. But if you make it a very cool-headed, non-emotional approach, I like the Gujarati Marwadi here, compared to us emotional Malayalis. They are very unemotional about money. Even a brother gives money to a brother, they are able to take an agreement and say you have taken money and here we have returned the money. You have to be relatively unemotional about it without bringing your ego into the picture. You will do a lot better. If you bring your ego into the picture, you are likely to make very bad mistakes. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. And it's better to be an active investor, not a passive investor. If you are operating as a group, decide who among the group who's investing will be what we call the deal champion. Work closely. Okay? Some of the tough challenges in India, one is of course the legal system. The other big tough challenge is to get an idea about the entrepreneur. If I meet some Jose tomorrow, I really don't know, apart from his coming and meeting me, much about Jose. Is he a good fellow? Is he trustworthy? How do I credential the entrepreneur is a big challenge. So please spend some time establishing those systems by which you can get referrals. Because in India, still, social credentialing is a lot more powerful than technical on paper credentialing. And you have to work finally with a good entrepreneur. The other thing is also to help the entrepreneur understand that what you have as a business model today may not succeed tomorrow. So please keep looking for changing. Google, what you see today is not Google plan A. It's some plan GHI. So please understand that you have to keep changing and pivoting. So Chennai Angels, I'm ending with this. We roughly have about 90 members, including some institutional members. Typically, we screen about close to 500 deals a year. We have done about 34, now about 37 investments. Total amount invested has now crossed about 60-70 crores, which means typically we've done about 2 odd crores in investment. These are some of the companies that we have invested in. You can see that it covers a range of industries and a range of geographies. Many of the companies we have invested in are from Bombay, from Delhi, from Bangalore, from even the US in a couple of cases, quite a few of them. Quite a few of them are also closed down, like Mango DBM, one of our first investments was shut about 4-5 years ago, like that quite a few others, but many others have raised subsequent rounds. So this gives you an interesting perspective of our investments. And these are some of our angels. We have about 6 or 7 lady investors, which is still very low, but that's the situation. So in sum, all I will say is angel investing is very, very early. You have to be prepared to lose before you can win. You have to be prepared to make the entrepreneur win for you to win. And finally, it's a very different creature. It's not an asset class. So it's active investing. So please be very careful. That's it. And if I have any more questions, I'm happy to answer.
We can take a few questions from.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, you said
What drives an angel investor? Networking with other individuals. Like we have been at TiECon talking about creating a network, I think, for almost 5 years. I think I've heard Chandu pitch twice in the last 2 years to come and help us. He said, we handhold us through the initial process. I think because we are as potential angels of the Kerala Angel Network, which we are going to launch. There's a lot of lack of clarity as to how the whole thing works. So I think he's helped us a lot because he's gone through the process from being funded as an entrepreneur all the way to where he is today. So, and I think that one big part of being an angel investor, I think, is giving back to society, and hopefully someday we will see the kind of IRRs that he talked about. So, thank you very much. May you, can I?
Yeah, we have. Thank you, Mr. Chandu Nair, for their nice presentation.